everyone. Welcome to the Curious Podcast. And in today's podcast, we have with us Lifemathmoney from Twitter. And currently, he's having 370K followers on Twitter. And we're going to know everything about Twitter from him. You guys can go and follow him and learn a lot about Twitter. So, before wasting any more time, let's get started. Welcome to the show, Harsh. How are you doing today?
Hey Pooja, how are you doing? It's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah. The last podcast I believe we recorded was on money. That was on my Money Master podcast. I think it's almost been more than a year.
How many podcasts do you have? You work really hard.
Not many. This is actually the one that's currently active. The previous one, I couldn't give it much time, so I had to stop it. But yeah, this is the one that I'm planning for a really long time. And I've been looking forward to this podcast because a lot of my students and audience has been requesting that how to grow on Twitter. It seems that you're friends with Life Math Money since you've done a podcast with him previously. So why don't you invite him and do a podcast on Twitter? So like, okay, let me try. So kind of you to give time. Thank you so much for taking out time.
Hey, I'm always happy to be on your podcast. I've appeared many times and I always enjoy the experience.
Right. So I think we can start from the very beginning. How did
Oh,
Twitter?
by the way, it's X
Mhm.
now, so
Oh
Twitter is
yeah,
redundant.
I am. Yeah, I am just very used to calling Twitter. But yeah, so how was your journey? How did your journey start on X? Like we're talking, I think, couple of years ago.
Okay, so for some background, I am not originally an X writer per se. I started a blog.
Mm-hmm.
It was lifemathmoney.com and still is lifemathmoney.com. And I published a few articles on it. And ta-da, to my surprise, no one read it. I was looking at the Google Analytics after publishing and it had 0 viewers. Literally no one was coming there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, I need to find a way to get people to read me. In the sense, there is no point publishing articles that no one is reading, is there?
True.
So I looked up a few of the blogs that I myself used to read and respected, and I tried to see, okay, how are these guys getting readers? Where are the readers coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And outside of SEO, they were coming from Twitter. Everybody, all these bloggers were on Twitter. Mike Cernovich, Wall Street Playboys, and this guy Victor Pride from Bold and Determined.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, all three of these blogs are now defunct. They're dead. The pages don't work anymore. So I would like to say I'm the survivor from that era.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was pretty much it. I started tweeting. I was interacting with people, and that's how I grew. And my growth, I had to figure out a lot of things. I didn't have, so right now there's a guide I created called The Art of Twitter, which people can purchase. And it's not really targeted towards Indians, so it's very expensive. If your audience is Indians, you probably cannot afford it. But yeah, I have that guide now for customers. But back when I was growing, I didn't have the guide, right? I didn't have anything to tell me how to grow. So I kind of learned the thing and the strategies over time with experience. The most important thing, I'll just give you like the quick gist of how to grow, since that is a question. There are two types of people on Twitter who grow well. The first type is someone who's already famous because of something they've done in the real world, like Barack Obama, or take Zuby, for example. Like Zuby, maybe he's a rapper, but people who have some kind of pre-existing fame and now they are on Twitter and they suddenly grow on Twitter. Like Warren Buffett, if he shows up on Twitter, will have millions of followers in a week.
True.
And then there are people who grew organically on Twitter, in the sense people did not know them in the real world. They came to Twitter and they started working, producing content, and they grew on Twitter. I will give you how to grow in the second scenario, because probably if you're watching this podcast, you are not Warren Buffett or Dorian Yates or Michael Phelps or someone like that. So you are someone who wants to grow on Twitter, but you don't have real world fame. You're not popular for anything else. So what do you need to do? You need to first make a decent looking account, put up a good profile picture, put
Hmm.
a decent bio, tell people why they should follow you. I mean, why should I follow somebody,
Hmm.
right? What value do you have to offer? And
Hmm.
for that, you need to develop yourself. For example, if you are producing health related content, you need to be healthy, you need to know about what you're talking about. If you're producing masculinity content, you need to be masculine. If you're producing content about, say, how to raise kids well, you need to have kids. So
Hmm.
that I would say that's the most important criteria that a lot of people miss, is having life experience to back up anything you're going to say.
Hmm.
And you see this stuff nowadays quite a bit. There'll be accounts being like, I'm going to show you how to become a millionaire. But when you interact with them, you find out, okay, this guy is maybe a $10,000 not a millionaire. So
Hmm.
how can you teach someone something you have not achieved for yourself? That does
Yeah.
not make sense. So I would say that is criteria number one. Even if you don't have fame, you do definitely need to have life experience.
Yeah.
If you don't have life experience in what you're talking about, you're a fraud and not gonna grow well. I mean, it might work out. You know, there are politicians who don't know anything about what they're doing, and they still get elected. So it might work out for you if you are very good at bullshitting,
Hmm.
but most of you are better off if you get real world experience. And to be honest, it makes your job as a content creator much easier. Do that first. I know I sound like I'm rambling, but it's so important. And a
Hmm.
lot of people skip this step where real world experience is just not there.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. You have these kids, you have 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds making content about how to live life as a man and business and what have you. And dude, you have been alive for 5 years. I mean, 5 years ago, you were 13 years old. You have no experience to be talking about these topics. Just true. I mean, I'm not hating on you. You just, if you did something for 5 6 years and then produce content about it, that would make sense. But
Hmm.
if you just were born yesterday and today you're talking about, why death doesn't matter, it just doesn't compute.
Yeah.
Secondly, Twitter is a social network. I'm gonna keep saying Twitter because you say Twitter, and I'm sure your audience still thinks of it as Twitter, but it's the platform is X now.
Yeah.
Twitter X is a social platform. It's not like YouTube where you just make content and you hope for the best from the algorithm.
Hmm.
That is not how Twitter works.
Hmm.
On Twitter, you have to interact with people, not just DM people, but you also have to reply to people, build relationships.
Hmm.
Eventually, if you reply to someone enough number of times, leave them positive replies, leave them likes, etc., they'll do the same for you as well.
Hmm.
And you have to kind of, when you're small, stay in your lane, in the sense that, let's say you're an account with 1,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're constantly replying to Elon Musk, well, you cannot expect Elon Musk to reply back to you one day. It just doesn't. The difference is too big.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're replying or talking to someone with 2,000 followers and you have 1,000 followers there, then they're gonna notice you. They're gonna
Yeah.
start engaging with you and what have you. So I would say stay in your lane,
Hmm.
because if you're too small, then you just don't get that reciprocal behavior.
Yeah.
And someone who's too big, then they start thinking of you as like a leech, but you're trying to get something from them. If someone has 1 million followers and you have 2,000 followers or 20,000 followers, then they're much less likely to do this interaction with you, because
Hmm.
you have to think from their perspective. They are also trying to build an audience and grow and what have you. And
Hmm.
dealing with you is just not worth their time. It has to
Yeah.
be like a quid pro quo thing for them. You
Yeah.
have to be about their size.
True.
So that is important. Deal with people, interact with people quite a bit, but make sure that you're interacting with people who are likely to interact back with you.
Hmm.
Then one other thing I would say is, if you're gonna make content about, say, something controversial or something you would not put your face behind it,
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend doing it smartly. In the sense, if you live in Saudi Arabia and you're mocking Islam, it's probably not the best idea.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize this, and they learn this the hard way. But you have to be cognizant of what you're saying and where you live, in the sense that, I'm going to give you like a very basic example.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy on this Chinese version of Twitter,
Hmm.
and he was making content about, why the CCP is bad. And
Hmm.
that guy is no longer, like, his account is has been deleted, and
Hmm.
the guy hasn't been seen or heard from since.
Oh man.
My point is that if you want to criticize the CCP, you should not be in the zone where they live. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're
Where
criticizing,
they
I
can
can
track
criticize the
you down.
CCP.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm never in the sign. I'm never in China. I'm either in Dubai or India or EU or USA. I'm never in China, so I can talk anything I want about the CCP and not worry about it.
Hmm.
But if you live in China, don't criticize the CCP. If you live in Russia, don't criticize Putin. Be
Hmm.
smart about whatever your controversial opinions are. You can have them, but expressing it publicly, you have to realize that it's safe to do when you have 1,000 followers. But when you have 100,000 followers, people are going to dig back into everything you said,
Yeah.
pick out that,
Take
and suddenly,
screenshots
yeah.
of what you previously said or tweeted.
And then you suddenly are in trouble. So
Hmm.
I'm not saying you should be you should censor yourself, but you should be smart about what you're saying and look into the future. And
Yeah.
if you're successful, don't say things that might get you killed or harassed or something like that.
Hmm.
That would be one advice I would give to a lot of people. And this is not advice I personally followed. So take it from me.
Yeah. But that's actually a good point. Do not criticize something that can overpower you. Uh, Part of the reason why one should also think about going anonymous on Twitter if you're trying to make controversial content. What do you think?
It really depends. You will make much more money if you're not anonymous. In the sense, I'm speaking as an anonymous person right now,
Mm-hmm.
but this is not what I do for a living, right? For me, Twitter, X, the blog, it's all a hobby. It's not what I do for a living. I
Mm-hmm.
do it for fun, and I don't really see the point of being out there, putting my face out there. It doesn't really add anything to my content.
Hmm.
But if you are someone who purely is in it just because you want to make money, you want to become an influencer, you want to be a star or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you want people to trust you, to see you, then yeah, you need to have your face out there. Although I will say that many of you would be better off without it. I know quite a bit of famous people. I know a lot of famous people, and their life is not good,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that if you go out to eat with them, they have to wear sunglasses and hoodies and what have you. And random people will harass them, take pictures of them. They have to move around with security. It's
Hmm.
not worth it.
Yeah.
And once you actually become popular, you have to watch everything you say and do and worry about public perception. In the sense, I can say anything. I could literally say anything to anyone. I could walk around naked, and people will just think, okay, this is some crazy guy walking around naked. It would not become headline news. But take any big or popular actor or influencer, and let's say they have some kind of incident or something, and that would be the news everywhere. And
Hmm.
that kind of happens to a lot of these guys, and they have to start watching what they say, watching what they do,
Yeah.
care about the public perception, and it drives a lot of them actually crazy. It drives a lot of them insane. When a lot of these people say they're depressed, I get it. I mean, I know some of them personally. I know some very,
Hmm.
very popular people here in India, and it's just not a life you would want to live. But I would say that if you are someone starting out, start anon. See if you really need to put your face out there. You really, really want that attention,
Mm-hmm.
because once you put your face out there, you can't undo that decision.
Hmm. You mentioned about engagement, that stay in your lane, interact with people who are sort of maybe having the followers range within your range. Uh, so what is that ideal number that people should engage, and how many times should they engage so that they can consistently work on their growth on X or Twitter?
There is no magic number. There literally isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I would recommend doing it often. At
Hmm.
least once every few hours is a good idea.
Okay.
I will say one thing. So, Twitter has now made their algorithm public. And in their algorithm, they have something called a heavy ranker, and the heavy ranker decides what tweets get shown to people.
Hmm.
And one of the metrics is, of course, like, retweet, and everything.
Hmm.
The weight for a like is half. You get like half a point if the algorithm predicts that the person who sees your tweet will like it.
Hmm.
So the algorithm is trying to predict your behavior as a user. So if I tweet, if the algorithm thinks that you will like it
Hmm.
will get half a point. If the algorithm thinks that you will retweet it will
Hmm.
get, 1 point. If the algorithm thinks that you will click it and open it, it'll get like 4 or some points like that. If
Hmm.
the algorithm thinks that you will engage with it,
Hmm.
you would get, let me have a look at the updated numbers, but I think it's 24 points.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the probability the user will like a tweet will
Hmm.
get you half a point. Half the weight of this is half.
Hmm.
So what happens is the probability is multiplied by half.
Hmm. Okay.
The probability of a retweet is multiplied by 1. For a
Hmm.
reply, if the algorithm thinks there's a 50% chance that you will reply, the
Mm-hmm.
weight for this is 13.5. So you will get 6.75 points for this.
Hmm.
If the algorithm thinks that you will click on the profile picture of the person, the
Hmm.
weight for this action is 12. So if the algorithm thinks there's a 75% chance, then you
Hmm.
will get 0.75 into 12, which is 9
Hmm.
points.
Hmm.
Now, here's the thing: the
Hmm.
probability that the algorithm estimates the author will engage with you if you reply,
Hmm.
the weight for this is 75.
Hmm. Okay.
So, what you should do is before you sleep, you should go and like or retweet every single mention you get,
Hmm.
because that would increase the probability the
Hmm.
algorithm thinks that you will engage with this
Hmm.
person's content, and it will increase it to something close to 1, and every single tweet of yours will have at least 75 points, which will
Okay.
make it much more likely that your tweet will show up on their feed.
Hmm. Right. But what is the difference between engaging and replying? I mean, according to me, they sound same.
So engaging is a broad term which can have a like, retweet, reply, profile click, click
Mm-hmm.
on play the video. Anything can be an engagement. Reply
Mm-hmm.
is a specific thing where you click reply, you type out a response, you hit submit.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Even blocking someone is engagement.
But you shouldn't go about blocking people left, right?
If you block too much, then yeah, it kind of starts flagging you as a bot.
Hmm. Okay.
Because what used to be happening was that earlier, and I think to some extent even today, Twitter would count a block as a negative point against your account. And what these leftists and a lot of these politically motivated people would do is they would fund like a big botnet of like 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh bot accounts. And if they don't like you, they would all mass block your account and you would get like 3 lakh negative points. And then suddenly you would get shadow banned, your tweets would stop showing up to people.
Mm-hmm.
I think Elon Musk has fixed that.
Yeah, he mentioned that shadow ban, won't be a thing anymore. I think he tweeted something like that.
Yeah, when I'm saying I think is that he's on Twitter, he tweeted that he's fixing it, but the
Hmm.
algorithm on GitHub has not changed.
Hmm. Okay. Got it.
So I think he's fixed it and he hasn't updated the GitHub, but we don't know for sure.
Hmm. Right.
What he has removed is tweepcred, which is good thing. Tweepcred was shit.
Tweet?
Tweepcred was like
Hmm.
reputation. Tweepcred,
Okay,
it's a
okay.
thing in the algorithm.
Huh.
And what this was doing, it was calculating the reputation of this account, in the sense how, what's the word for it, how good this account is. But it was calculating it in a very weird way. For example, if you interacted with someone Twitter does not like, it would reduce your tweet credit.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you, and it, for example, if you were replying to Donald Trump, it would
Hmm.
probably reduce your tweet credit because Twitter does not like Donald Trump. But
Hmm.
if you were interacting positively with someone Twitter likes, then it
Hmm.
would increase your tweet credit, which doesn't make any sense. But this is just like a way to give
Hmm.
more engagement to some people you like and reduce engagement for a particular group of people.
Hmm.
So Elon Musk did get rid of this, but I don't think he has gotten rid of the whole penalty for being blocked.
Hmm. Right, right, right. So, by far, we've mentioned about the kind of people that can get grow on Twitter. And we also talked about how to pick your niche. You must have some real life experiences in order to back whatever content you're creating. And we've talked about how to like sort of produce controversial content if at all you're interested in. We've talked about engagement. Can you talk a bit about other strategies that you have involved? I'm sure that your Twitter guide, actually, I have it. I have read it and I've tried applying it. I mean, I bought it, I think, way back when you had just launched it. I am a user since then. And a lot of strategies I did apply myself and got a good result also. But I've not been posting. So if not all, if you could just pick up a few strategies that you believe have worked for you and will probably work for a large number of audience out there, that will really help those who are getting started.
Okay, some of the strategies are against Twitter's TOSs. So I'm not going to mention them here, but if someone is interested, they should buy the guide. It's at gum.co/Twitter guide. And you can get a copy, gum.co/Twitter guide.
I'll put the link in the description also, guys. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to publicly mention the growth strategies which are against Twitter's TOS, obviously, but I'll tell you some good ones which are not against Twitter's TOS. And I kind of learned this particular one from other people. And I found that a lot of people would write reviews of my product or my articles, and they would post my article, and they hadn't even read the article sometimes. They would just take a link to my article and say, this is a very, very good article. I highly recommend reading it. This article is by @Lifemathmoney. And the incentive is that they know that I'm going to retweet that article. Because I want to publicize my own stuff, right? I've written an article. I want people to read it. And, you know, if someone's giving me a glowing review for the article, then of course I'm going to retweet it. I want people to see this. I wrote this article. People are liking it. And a few people caught up on the fact that I retweet links to my articles, and they started spamming, like they started posting links to my article. And the thing is that even though I know what they're doing, I will still retweet it.
Yeah.
So I would say if you want to get a retweet from, say, a very popular person, read their content, maybe watch a podcast and leave like a small thread or something. Hey, here are my big takeaways from X podcast with XYZ people. And you are very, very, very likely to get engaged with, get a retweet, get a reply or something like that. And it will help people get eyeballs to your account. That's something that's a very sneaky way of, you know, operating. Other people taught me this. I did not come up with this myself. They would leave like a review for my Twitter guide or for my fitness guide or for Gumroad products and what have you. And I would just retweet them. I'm like, okay, fine. I know what this guy is doing. But, here's your retweet, bro.
Here's all the effort. Here's a reward for all the effort that you put in coming up with a piece of a writing piece, right?
Yeah, and I definitely retweet anybody who leaves like a summary. You know, here's a key takeaway from this podcast, etc., etc. All that's good content for people to read, and I kind of want to promote my own stuff, and everybody does. I'm not like a saint. No one is. Everybody wants to promote their own stuff. If you leave a summary of a podcast with Pooja, I'm gonna bet that Pooja is gonna retweet it. Like, it's just human incentive, you know. Everybody wants to promote their own stuff. And what people tend to do is that they have this weird scarcity mindset where they're like, why should I leave a good review for someone else's product? They have the scarcity mindset, and it's not costing you anything. And it's gonna get you something, but people still hesitate to do it. Like, they don't want to do it. They don't want to leave something positive and get nothing in return, or, you know, for no promised return.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that scarcity mindset thing, and it hurts themselves in the long run. I'm not saying you should leave like positive reviews for my products, but anyone you want to interact with, it increases the chances of them, you know, retweeting you by a lot.
Absolutely true. And yeah, there's no negative in that also. If you really like someone's content, no harm in appreciating them. Although that happens, that doesn't happen a lot in India, but that's a good place to start with, don't you think? Because if you're producing absolutely fresh content, but you don't have readers to read your content, there's no point of keep on producing but not actually producing content which may get you a retweet from a big account or bring some sort of engagement on your account.
Exactly. Then there are quite a bit of strategies you can use which require some skill in writing, in the sense that there are multiple ways to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are very boring, some of them are very interesting, and some of them tend to go viral more often. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of depends on how creative you are, how good your command is with English,
Mm-hmm.
and how cheeky you are, I would say. For example, I could give you this very, very simple example, right? You should go to the gym every day. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very boring way of saying, right? It's a very boring thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
A more interesting way to say something is, I saw a 60-year-old guy have a heart attack, which I literally did. I literally did see a 60-year-old guy have a heart attack, and that made me think that if this guy had spent 1 hour a day working out for the last 40 years, he would get 40 whole years an extra to live.
Hmm.
It has more creativity, it's more interesting to read. I'm not saying make up fake shit, but I'm sure if you are producing content, you
Hmm.
should have some life experience you can draw back from. That's the original point I was making in the beginning. You got to have life experience, and you should talk from your life experience.
Hmm.
So it's one thing to say, hey, children are cute, and that's it, that's your tweet. Or you could say something like, hey, I woke up in the morning and my kid was playing with my hair. Kids
Hmm.
are so beautiful and amazing.
Hmm.
If you're a mom, you probably have that experience, kids playing with your hair and what have you. You get the difference, right?
Hmm.
There's one way to say something that's very, very boring, bland, one way to say something that's more edgy, more story oriented, more
Yeah.
something people want to read.
Yeah.
You have to understand who your reader is. A lot of people don't really get it. In the
Hmm.
sense, for LMM, right, my reader is someone from the age of say 16 to 35 who wants to improve his life.
Hmm.
Probably if you're making content about whatever you're making content about, it's probably going to be it's not just men. For you, it's probably men and women who
Mm-hmm.
want to work a corporate job to succeed in life in the corporate sphere and what have you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my audience is not that. My audience is
Yeah.
people who don't want to work a corporate job. They want to start a business, who
Yeah.
look down upon people who want to work a corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say what I believe, right?
Yeah.
I'm purely authentic about everything I believe. I literally look down on people who work corporate job. Like, you guys are slaves.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are someone helping people get people corporate jobs, then you can't say that.
Hmm.
Then you have to say something else. Then you should do what you believe in. I'm not saying you should lie, but if you are someone who truly believes that people should work corporate jobs
Mm-hmm.
and you're helping them work corporate jobs, then you should talk in that way. You would probably be much more professional. You would not be throwing F bombs to people. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be saying things that I say.
Yeah. Obviously, I think one has to decide the tone of their account on the basis of the audience that they're serving.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't get it, in the sense, for
Hmm.
example, if you are producing content that's meant for, say, kids,
Hmm.
you cannot talk like an adult. You cannot talk in a boring, monotonous way. You have to talk like a kid. You have to appeal to them. It has to be interesting. You
Hmm.
have to understand that people were not born to read your content. This is
Yeah.
not their purpose in life. God did not create them to read your stuff. They have
Mm-hmm.
a million things to do. There are thousands of people they can read on Twitter or everywhere else. There are videos they can watch on YouTube.
Hmm.
Why should someone read your content? It has to be interesting.
Hmm. What are your thoughts about content that ignite emotions, like emotionally driven content? Do you think that works for some people or some age group?
It works for everybody unless your audience is a psychopath. But I would say that you should you shouldn't become someone who is solely doing that, where you're just trying to ignite people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Like PETA, for example, right? This people for eating treatments of animals or ethical, I forget. I think it's eating treatment for animals, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not wrong. These guys really are these people who really, 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 really want to ignite people's emotions. Every single post by the people of eating treatment of animals,
Mm-hmm.
is about how animals are being abused and what have you. They'll show a picture of some animal being tortured somewhere and
Hmm.
what have you. I'm like, come on, man. I did not wake up and browse Twitter to see some rabbit having acid poured in its eyes. I
Hmm.
get it. It's evil to torture animals. I'm not torturing animals, but stop showing it to me. I don't want to see it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I would say don't become someone who's constantly provoking people. A lot of these political accounts are like this,
Yeah.
where they constantly try to
Do that.
say something that riles up people.
Hmm. Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that as like your growth strategy. Of course, if you're a real human being, you will have some opinions that are gonna rile up people. I have mine. You're probably sure you have yours.
Hmm.
Everybody does, unless you're like an NPC and don't have a brain and just follow, whatever TV tells you to, which is a lot of people.
Hmm.
You are gonna have some controversial opinions, which is fine,
Hmm.
but don't be producing controversial opinions just to go viral.
Hmm. Right. Do you have any content buckets in place to decide? Sure, you've picked your niche, you've picked the tone of your account, but do you have any content buckets that I have to do single tweets, or I have to do Twitter threads, or I have to do this long tweet? Do you have any content buckets?
Not really. I just tweet when things come to my head.
Okay.
To be honest with you, like this is a hobby, right? I don't overthink content. I just produce what I have to produce. I say what I want to say. I
Hmm.
don't overthink my
Hmm.
content as such. I don't craft an image
Hmm.
which other influencers do, because those guys have to rely on sponsorships and what have you. In the
Yeah.
sense they cannot say something wrong because that would make the sponsor back out and things like that. I don't have to worry about any of that. This is just a hobby. I make much more money outside of LMM than I do with LMM.
Mm-hmm.
So not particularly concerned about content buckets and what have you. But
Mm-hmm.
lately I was trying to write more on my blog, and I did come up with a nice strategy, which is to pre-plan the topic I'm going to write about. That is, I want to
Okay.
publish every 3 or 4 days,
Hmm.
and here is the dates I'm going to publish on for the rest of the year, and this
Hmm.
is the topic I'll publish on this date.
Hmm. And do you also try to build hype for the topic that you're going to write upon, and invite any suggestions, any doubts from the people so that I can cover in the blog?
Not really, because the blog isn't like a profit driver. So I
Mm-hmm.
just write, I publish it, and things just go from there.
Hmm. Okay.
I do for some posts which are very of public interest, which I think a lot of people are interested in. For example, I recently published an article on how to avoid getting falsely accused of rape in India.
Mm-hmm.
That I published like a summary of it on Twitter before I publish it on my blog, and then I told people I'm going to send it out as a newsletter too, and you can click here and sign up to my newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
and you can grow. You can basically get that article right as soon as it's published. It will be in your inbox, and you'll have it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I got like 500 people who signed up to my newsletter because of that one link. So when I post something that's I think is going to be of a lot of public interest, a lot of men would be interested,
Mm-hmm.
then definitely. For example, my article on how to know if a girl is a virgin,
Mm-hmm.
that got me like 600 subscribers to my email list. And I
Okay.
just put like a summary of the piece and what have
Hmm.
you. So
Hmm.
things like that, which I know a lot of people would be interested, like how to get more protein as an Indian vegetarian.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I did. But a regular article on how to be more appreciative about your life, that is
Hmm.
not something I would post a summary about.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. Right. Hmm. Time to move on to monetization, because I believe that's what everyone wants at the end of the day, especially if someone is trying to build an audience on Twitter, they want to monetize it. So, according to you, what are the different ways through which people can monetize their X or Twitter?
Here is the strategy I would recommend to anybody.
Hmm.
First, build your audience. Don't worry about monetization.
Okay.
Leave your DMs open.
Okay.
What people will do is that they will leave you messages asking you all kinds of questions or problems they're having and assistance that they require.
Uh-huh.
And eventually, in a few months, you will have a very good understanding of what your audience actually wants you to solve.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can produce some kind of guide or ebook or course or something, anything that solves that problem. For example, if you take Life Math Money, I would get a lot of people telling me, hey, I can't seem to wake up early. I
Hmm.
just literally very difficult for me to wake up on time. I
Hmm.
can't, I'm skipping gym, I'm eating unhealthy. What do I do?
Hmm.
And that's when I came up with my self-improvement guide, which is on gum.co/stuff,
Hmm.
gum.co/TOUGH.
Hmm.
That's what you should do. You shouldn't worry too much about monetization. Focus on building your audience,
Hmm.
figure out what problem they have, and in most cases,
Hmm.
your audience will tell you what problems they have, and then just solve the problem.
Hmm.
Charge for your solution. For example, in your case, probably people might be reaching out to you for, say, how do I fix my resume? I'm not getting a job interview or
Yeah.
something. And then you can make a quick product about, okay, how do you make a good resume? What guidelines to follow? What mistakes you see? Of
Hmm.
course, you have to price according to the market. For
Hmm.
example, if you are making a product about how to make a resume,
Yeah.
you are targeting people who don't have a job. So
Yeah.
it can't be an expensive product. You cannot charge
Hmm.
$500 to someone who doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
cannot. On the other hand, like if you take LMM products, I don't target broke people. I'm like, I just don't want to deal with them. They're too annoying. They Here's the problem with dealing with broke people. They
Hmm.
have, let's say someone has 10,000 rupees and they give you 2,000 of that.
Hmm.
They will feel like they paid you 20% of their net worth, and you owe them everything,
Hmm.
which is just not, which isn't fair for you.
Yeah.
And they have a much higher return rate. They have extreme expectations, and
Hmm.
they are much more annoying to deal with. You don't want to deal with broke people.
Hmm.
That would be my advice. A lot of people do build businesses out of providing extra cheap goods, and they try to make money from volume. Personally, I've not had positive experiences with them. I don't enjoy dealing with idiots, and typically if
Hmm.
someone is broke, they are stupid also, in
Hmm.
my experience.
Hmm.
I would say target people who have money, who
Hmm.
can spend it, and make a product that's very valuable, in the
Hmm.
sense that if someone buys my Twitter guide, they pay
Hmm.
$200, but they
Hmm.
build a business which pays them thousands of dollars every single month. So it's
Hmm.
valuable. Even though it's expensive for some people, the product price itself is much lower than the value of the product. I would say target people who have money and make good products that are high value.
Hmm.
Don't target broke people who have trouble giving you $100.
Hmm. Right. Uh, but still, I mean,
And there's this
yeah.
one analogy, just to,
Hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No, no.
but here is the thing. If you want to make money, you need to have good margins,
Hmm.
because you are not Amazon, you are not Walmart.
Yeah.
You just don't have millions of customers, right? You don't. You want to make a decent amount of money per sale. You cannot make $1, $5, $10, $20 per sale. It just would not, the math doesn't work.
Hmm.
Let's take someone living in New York. You need $250,000 just to live a decent, okay life. If you sell a product which gives you $20 in profit,
Hmm.
you have to sell a lot of product. I think maybe 15,000 units, 12,000. I don't know what the tax rate is right now,
Hmm.
but yeah, you'll have to probably sell like 20,000 units
Yeah.
just to live an okay life. It's very difficult to sell 20,000 units, you get me?
Hmm.
But if
Yeah.
you sell something that has a $1,000 margin, you have to sell 250 units, which is, maybe 300, 400 units, which is
Hmm.
much more manageable.
Right.
So focus on people with money, have a high price tag, and produce something that's extremely valuable, even for the high price tag.
Hmm.
Don't target broke people. Don't target very people who want to save every penny, every rupee, and they're like,
Yeah.
they look for coupons. And I mean, you want to do it, do it. I would not do it.
Hmm.
I just would not do it.
Hmm. No, I absolutely agree with you, and I get it where you're coming from. Uh, that's where I think you should decide that what is something that you want to do. Uh, you mentioned that if I am creating resume products, so that has been my expertise over the years, and if I have to do it, I need to figure out a way where I would be okay if I may have to give certain units for free also, especially to people who are not having any job at the moment. So need to work out on numbers that way, which can be tough and tiring. I understand that. But I want to take it further, this monetization topic. Let's just say somebody has sort of built an audience now, and as you mentioned, that your audience will tell you what kind of problems they're facing so that I can come up with solutions. But still, what are the different avenues that someone can explore if they're trying to expand their monetization horizon? Like they can sort of increase the streams through which they can earn through Twitter or X.
Okay, this is gonna sound like self promotion because it is, but I had the same question because I was making quite a bit of money from Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
but I have learned from the experiences of others. I had a friend, I still have this friend. His name is IM, Illimitable Man,
Mm-hmm.
and he has been on Twitter since 2012, 13 maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and he had thousands, like he had 25, 30,000 followers back in 2018, 17, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly he said something and his account got banned and he just disappeared. I mean, his account disappeared. And
Mm-hmm.
that made me realize how important it is to have an audience on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
For example, there are many, many people who had their Twitter accounts suspended, banned, and disappeared. Like Stefan Molyneux, just zoom, boom, gone from Twitter. He had hundreds of thousands of followers.
Mm.
So, what you should be doing is building on all platforms. Now,
Mm.
of course, I'm not retarded. I know it's impossible for someone to be building on all platforms,
Yeah.
but I did want to grow on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I came up with a company. It's called repurposepie.com. Repurposepie, REPURPOSEPIE, the eating pie.
Mm.
And what it does is that it takes your tweet, it uses the Twitter API, takes your tweet automatically,
Mm.
turns it into a beautiful video that's meant for video platforms, and
Mm.
then automatically posts them to TikTok and YouTube and other social media platforms
Mm.
so that you keep growing on autopilot. So
Yeah.
right now I have 370,000 followers on Twitter. That's from 5.5 years of posting.
Mm.
But in 6 months of posting on TikTok, I have about 21,000 followers there.
Oh, that's
And do you know how much time I spent on TikTok? Maybe less than 2 hours in the last 6 months, because all I did was I connected repurpose Pie to my Twitter and my TikTok,
mm.
and automatically takes my tweets, turns them to videos, puts them on TikTok, puts an appropriate caption,
Mm.
and that's it. Same with YouTube. I've been getting 150,000, 200,000 views a month on YouTube Shorts
Mm.
by doing nothing. My software will just take your tweet, turn it to video, post it on YouTube.
Mm.
So if you are interested in that, go to repurposepie.com and sign up. But essentially, this is how I diversified my income, got money from all these different platforms. It
Mm.
has several advantages. Firstly, in case I get banned from Twitter or
Mm.
X, I have somewhere else I can go to. I can start making TikTok content or
Yeah.
Instagram content or YouTube content or what have you. I have
Mm.
options. I'm not stuck on one platform. Secondly, all these platforms pay me money. I mean, I made more money than what I paid to my own company for the subscription with just YouTube ad revenue alone because it gets you so many views. These short platforms, their algorithm is different. If you're
Yeah.
posting content a lot, you just grow automatically.
Mm. Mm.
So on TikTok, I didn't even know anybody. I'd never used it. I literally just connected it and it just worked on its own.
Mm.
And most of our users cross 10,000 followers on TikTok in less than 40 days.
Oh.
A lot of them do it in like 25 days, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them take like 35 for there's most like maybe 80% of them hit
Mm.
10K followers in 40 days, presuming they're tweeting at least 3-4 times a day. Because when you tweet 3-4 times a day, that means you get 3-4 posts on TikTok per day, even though you don't have to log in or do anything.
Mm.
And the algorithm for TikTok does the growth and everything for you. Same with YouTube and Instagram. It's a bit harder to grow on, but TikTok and YouTube, yes.
Mm. They're easier. Instagram is actually very tricky. We have been trying to crack Instagram. We've been able to sort of achieve a few viral posts ourselves, but it has taken a lot of effort also. As you mentioned, you did not put any effort into posting content on TikTok or YouTube for that matter. But Instagram, it actually requires effort. You have to shoot videos, you have to use music, you have to capitalize on the trending audio that's going around. So you're right when you say that Instagram is a little harder. But you have decent following there, I believe.
Yeah, it was just I brute force it. I tweet so much that
Mm-hmm.
I'm posting so many videos on Instagram automatically that every once in a while, maybe every 50th video will go viral, bring me some followers.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Yeah.
me? It's like a high volume strategy. But at the end of the day, it's not strategy at all.
Hmm.
I don't have the time to be making Instagram posts and TikTok posts and YouTube posts. I
Yeah.
just want to write. I'm a text writer. I'm not a video creator. I'm not someone who's gonna go and shoot a video of myself. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting all of this growth, even if it's small or even if it's big. I'm getting it for free. I'm not getting it. I'm not putting in my time and effort. It's just
Yeah.
happening automatically. It
Hmm.
doesn't make sense to not take it.
Hmm.
If you get me,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like something is
absolutely.
better than nothing.
Yeah. And you can
Although you
always
are correct, Instagram is much harder to grow on.
hmm, right. All right. Um, I wanted to talk about, I mean, I think this would be the last portion of talking about monetization, but I also wanted to talk about, for example, somebody's just trying to focus on Twitter. One is definitely they get Twitter creator payment, which Elon Musk has recently started. Then there are affiliate, right? You can like a product, you can promote them, and you get affiliate commission. And obviously, as you mentioned, you can sell your digital products. Uh, Anything else apart from this?
Okay, so the Twitter monetization payment, it's not something I would even count as money
Mm-hmm.
because I have 370,000 followers and they pay me maybe 40 $50 every two
Mm.
weeks, which is literally nothing.
Yeah.
So that's just, you would spend the money on give it to a beggar or something like that. It's you would not count that as money.
Yeah.
I would say there are three big ways of making money on Twitter,
Mm.
assuming you don't have a SaaS software or anything like that.
Mm.
The first way is to make your own product. Find out some problem your audience has and
Mm.
then solve it
Mm.
and then charge for a solution.
Mm.
The second is affiliate marketing, where you find a pre-existing product that sells well,
Mm.
you become an affiliate for it and you sell it and you take a commission on the sales. This is very easy to do.
Mm.
For example, all my products have an affiliate program. If you
Mm.
go on lifemathmoney.com, you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see affiliate program and you can apply. And
Mm.
once you apply, you get a bunch of links. You use those links, someone buys from your link, you get a commission directly in your bank account. A lot of companies have this stuff and a lot of people use it.
Mm.
There's that. Then there is paying for retweets. So what a lot of these bigger accounts do is that they charge smaller accounts money for getting retweeted. Personally, I've not done this. I've never done it. I do have
Mm.
a few bot accounts where I might have done it, not saying that I do it because against Twitter rules, but
Mm.
hypothetically speaking, it could have been done. Or
Mm.
I might have done it. I'm not saying I have done it, but I might have done it. And I'm not going to incriminate myself in Twitter's eyes. But a lot of bigger accounts definitely do it. And
Mm.
you can, if you go on their accounts, you'll see they have so many retweets, and you can make a lot of money from them because I know people who charge $3,000-4,000 a month just so that people can, they will retweet your tweets if you pay them X amount of money.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have like 10 clients paying you, you can make like 30, 40,000. Not a
Mm.
lot of money, but pretty decent for many people. I mean,
Mm.
$30,000 a month. You'll live an okay life in most Western cities, the bigger
Mm.
ones. In India, it's like life-changing money for most people.
Luxurious life, like more than that.
Yeah.
Mm. But I
So
think,
there's that.
please continue.
Then there's like the indirect way of making money, which is, you have a big following, so you can get some kind of sponsorship
Hmm.
or endorse some product or something like that.
Hmm. Okay.
Personally, I don't have much experience with getting sponsored because my content is very controversial and I don't watch what I say. I mean, you only get paid out as a sponsor if you're like a what's the word for it? You're a goody two shoes. You don't say anything so anyone might object to.
Mhm.
I don't know how, I don't know what words you're allowed to speak on your podcast. I don't want to make your podcast controversial, but there's a word that starts with P and ends with Y. You have to be that to get sponsorship money.
Mhm.
Because these sponsors, right? You say anything, and the sponsor will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna pull out," and then you suddenly get cancelled and lose half your income and
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
So
Right.
once you take sponsorship money, you have to be that and think about everything you say. So I
Mm.
have no experience for this. Never really taken sponsorship money, but it's a way of making money, which a lot of people do use. Which a
Hmm.
lot of these, what's the word for it? Non-controversial content people use, basically.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Get it. Uh, the thing that you mentioned about that you can pay people for retweeting, uh, there's something that Twitter has come up with subscriptions, right? Do you think it's gonna affect that?
Sorry.
Affect those creators specifically who ask for any payments for retweets?
Not really, not really. A subscription is just you paying the creator directly so that you get some whatever perks they're offering. Being
Hmm.
paid for retweets is more of a direct promotion.
Hmm. So how does subscription work? What benefits can one get by subscribing to a particular creator onto it on X or Twitter?
It depends on what the creator offers, right? Some creators
Okay.
might offer you DM access and answer your queries. Personally, I just don't offer anything. I'll just like or read it. Basically, if you subscribe to me,
Hmm.
you don't get any perk except for the fact that I'm going to interact with every reply you leave me. If you
Hmm.
reply to my tweet, I'll either like it or comment back or give you a retweet. It's
Hmm.
essentially just meant for people trying to grow their account. If you
Hmm.
want to grow your account and you subscribe to me, then I'm
Hmm.
going to engage with your comments on my tweets with my big account. So
Hmm.
that's pretty much it. I do some of these priority AMAs where only people who paid me can ask a
Okay.
question,
Okay.
but that's pretty much it. I don't want to sink in too much time. I mean, it pays like $10 a month.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna give you a lot of stuff for
Hmm.
paying me $10 a month.
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Right. I think that was quite in detail. The monetization part. I want to move towards the challenges part because you know content creation in itself is a very challenging task. It looks very easy from an outside perspective, but when you're actually doing it, you're putting in the thought what content to put out, or you're planning how to write. It's actually a very, very time consuming and a tiring process. So, tell us a bit about the challenges that you personally have faced while growing on Twitter.
I did not have that experience that where you're talking about. It's
Mm-hmm.
difficult to come up with content. Just literally never happened to me. Simply because here is my take on writer's block.
Hmm.
You get that when you don't have life experience, when you don't know what you're talking about, you don't actually
Hmm.
do it every day. For example, if you were producing an account about say being a teacher, I'm sure
Hmm.
you would never have writer's block
Hmm.
because you have so many stories you can talk about, so many experiences you have and what have you.
Yeah.
But if someone has been a teacher for 3 days and they're making content about how to be a teacher, then yeah, they're gonna have writer's block. They
Hmm.
will struggle to come up with content and what have you.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I would say that this is more of a, if you are facing this issue, you're facing issue with coming up with content, it just
Hmm.
means that you don't have enough experience. You can't be talking about this stuff.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Like any random topic. Do you know anything about Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anything about, say, swimming across a dam?
Not no.
Now try talking 3 minutes about swimming across a dam.
Yeah. Obviously, I cannot.
You
I
will
mean, I could just
stutter,
come up
right?
with, yeah, yeah, I'll stutter and I could maybe come up with wild imaginations of me thinking about how to go about it. But that'll be just me blabbering something.
Exactly. You cannot talk about something well without having done it unless you are gifted like a lot of politicians.
Okay, right. Um, Do you want to talk about future trends on Twitter? Like, where do you see Twitter or X as a platform going in terms of monetization opportunities?
Have you heard of WeChat?
Yeah,
It's what everyone in China uses for everything.
yeah.
I think that's what Twitter is trying to become, X is trying to become. And I do think that might actually happen,
Hmm.
where you could vote for what songs you want to hear on a concert on your X app and what have you. It'll
Hmm.
have a payment processor. It would be an everything app. You sell stuff. It would have Shopify inside it. It
Hmm.
would have a blogging platform inside it. It would have a
Hmm.
news platform inside it. It would have video calls and voice calls. It would have WhatsApp inside it,
Hmm.
etc.
Hmm. But
So
I. Mhm.
it's the everything app where all the business might happen,
Hmm.
and I'll have a lot of monetization opportunities. We don't know exactly what the future of X is. No one does.
Hmm.
I mean, I can't predict the future, neither can you. And
Hmm.
anyone who can is lying or very, very rich by now.
Hmm. Right.
But it's very bright. I would say that there's a lot of work happening on Twitter and they're updating it very fast. They're adding features much, much faster than they used to. It's much less biased than it used to be.
Hmm.
And I think the future is bright.
Hmm. But I think WhatsApp is already on that road of becoming WeChat. It has payments. It has. I don't know if you know about this update, wherein people, celebrities can have their channels, broadcast channels on WhatsApp. They can follow them there, and that's what WhatsApp is trying. It has already included. You can directly run ads from your WhatsApp. You can process payments from there. So it'll be interesting to see how Twitter competes with WhatsApp, because WhatsApp's user base is, I believe, much larger. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I'm not an expert in WhatsApp, but I do
Mm-hmm.
know a bit about it because I invested in a recruiting platform recently, privately invested in it. And it's becoming one of the biggest recruiting platforms in India. It's growing really, really fast and making quite a bit of cash now. And
Mm-hmm.
WhatsApp is what it's primarily using. But once again, not an expert in WhatsApp. It seems to be restricted to India. I mean, it seems like India is the biggest market. No one in the US commonly uses WhatsApp. In most of Europe, people don't use WhatsApp. Brazil and India, I think, are the places where WhatsApp is really, really common, and it's
Okay.
region locked. And the reason for this is that in India, you used to be charged 1 rupee per SMS,
Hmm.
maybe 15 years ago,
Hmm.
10, 15 years ago,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and people would install WhatsApp because they didn't want to pay that 1 rupee per message.
Yeah.
But these other countries, like the US, did not have this. They were not being charged 1 cent or 20 cents. They were not being charged money to send SMSs.
Hmm.
So in India, everybody started using WhatsApp, and then the network effects happened. Like
Hmm.
I use WhatsApp, all my friends use WhatsApp. So if someone
Hmm.
has to use WhatsApp, if someone has to talk to us, they have to use WhatsApp because I don't check my SMS.
Hmm.
When I'm in India, I just communicate via WhatsApp.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's why WhatsApp is really, really popular and common in India. But it's not a global platform as opposed to X, which is much more global and more evenly distributed across the world.
Hmm. Okay.
Secondly, WhatsApp is one-on-one communication. It's not built for you talking to people you don't know.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not meant for discovery. I would not discover Pooja Sharma on WhatsApp,
Hmm.
but I could definitely discover you on Twitter. So if you're a nobody, how do you actually build an audience on WhatsApp? You cannot.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
You have to build an audience somewhere else and then bring them to WhatsApp, but that's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But if on Twitter, if you don't know anybody, you can just start a Twitter account and gain a following. And you don't know anyone, you show up today and you gain a following. On
Hmm.
WhatsApp, that's impossible.
Hmm. That's what I was talking about. That, I don't know if you can see this, but WhatsApp has this updates ka section wherein these are the channels that you can follow, and it's sort of yeah. So discovery wala point that you're mentioning, maybe they're trying to achieve this, but these are the people who are already famous on other platforms like Instagram or YouTube. So they have brought up all those celebrities who are already famous on WhatsApp. Don't know what they're trying to do with this, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I mentioned, it'll be interesting to see how WhatsApp and Twitter compete. But as you mentioned, Twitter seems to be much more global and one to many sort of connections type of platform.
Yeah, moreover, from what I understand,
Hmm.
I think Facebook owns WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
If their goal was to make WhatsApp the everything platform, then they would not have launched Threads. They
Hmm.
kind of tried to copy. They created a clone of Twitter called Threads,
Threads. Yeah.
and that's failing miserably.
Yeah.
So if their vision for WhatsApp was to compete with Twitter, then it would
Hmm.
not make sense to launch Threads.
Hmm. Not with Twitter, but I was mentioning with WeChat.
With
Uh,
WeChat, yeah.
yeah. Right. Uh, in middle of all this, I was just wondering, how do you personally stay ahead of all these trends and changes on the platform? And how do you keep a track of it? Is there a blog or is there, how do you follow all these things?
Follow Elon Musk's account. Then you have to regularly spend some time looking for what changes there are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this the super simple way someone can keep in touch with Twitter updates is just buy my guide, because I send out a newsletter with these are the updates on Twitter every 10-15 days. Here are the changes that have been happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a super simple way that requires no effort.
Mm.
And of course, the guide is also updated every 2-3 months. So since you bought it, it's been upgraded about 15 times maybe by
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And all customers get access to every update. So I think when you bought it, the guide was very cheap. I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I think
I
it
had
was,
just launched it.
yeah.
It was much cheaper. And of course, with every update, it becomes more valuable. So I increase the price.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's how it should be done. The latest one, because since I was not on Twitter, I wasn't really active. I got to know about all the updates through your guide only. So, totally worth it, by the way. Right.
Awesome.
Um,
I'm glad you're liking it.
are there any critical do's and don'ts that you would suggest for someone who's trying to build their presence or trying to build their personal brand on Twitter? I mean, sure, we've talked about,
Personal brands, I think
I mean, like
the typical
growing on
do I
Twitter.
would go on.
Mm-hmm.
The typical do I would say is be interesting, be make content people enjoy reading. See,
Hmm.
you have to understand your audience.
Hmm.
People are not reading Twitter is not, and it's not someone's life's purpose, right? They're not waking up, I'm gonna read Twitter today. This is not going to Disneyland,
Hmm.
right? They are maybe in the middle of their day, maybe they're tired and what have you. They just want to be entertained a bit, maybe learn a
Hmm.
few things. Your content has to be interesting, it has to be worth reading, it has to be enjoyable, it has to
Hmm.
maybe teach them. If you are producing content that teaches them something, then yeah, it has to teach them something,
Hmm.
but it cannot be boring. It's a
Yeah.
simple adage, right? You can make a girl cry, you can make her laugh, you can make her enjoy herself, but you cannot bore her, because then she'll leave you. It's like
Yeah.
that in content. You cannot bore people. So you got to make content that's interesting. And of course, stories are very interesting. You can
Hmm.
talk about your life experiences, the experiences of your friends, etc., things like that.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
I'll give you a super simple example, okay?
Hmm.
I can say if you go out on a date, don't talk about Bitcoin. And I can say something like, hey, and this is like a totally real story.
Hmm.
I was out on a date. I was actually talking to this girl about DNA and Bitcoin. And
Hmm.
then I'm suddenly thinking, wait a minute, why am I talking to this 19-year-old girl about DNA? Does that make any goddamn sense, Harsh? Does that make any sense? This is a 19-year-old girl.
Hmm.
She literally could not care less on a Friday night about DNA. You gotta come up with some better topic.
Yeah.
And of course, you can make any topic funny and interesting for a girl. I mean, you can talk, DNA. I think I should change my DNA to make my head a bit bigger, so I
Hmm.
look smarter, and all the girls are gonna hit on me. Just
Hmm.
light banter jokes. If she likes you, she'll find it funny. If she doesn't, she
Hmm.
won't. The point is that the second part of my story was much more interesting, probably got you to think something about me, maybe positive, maybe negative.
Hmm.
But it's much better than just saying you should not talk about DNA on a date.
Hmm.
So
Right.
you say things that are interesting, use your stories, come up with your story. Even if you really suck at this, you're not going to do well online.
Hmm.
You have to be interesting. You have to write in an interesting way, something that someone wants to read.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. And any don'ts?
The big don't, I will just reiterate, don't be boring. Don't be a fraud.
Okay.
In the sense, don't talk about how to get rich if you don't have money.
Hmm.
Don't talk about how to raise kids if you don't have kids.
Yeah.
Don't talk about how to have sex with women if you don't have sex with women. Don't talk about how to be tall if you're not tall. If don't talk about how to recover from injuries if you don't know how to recover from injuries
Hmm.
and things like that. Don't talk about something you don't have experience in.
Yeah.
I literally would never, 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 never make any content about skiing
Hmm.
because I've never skied in my life.
Makes sense. It's funny that you have to mention this to people. I mean, which is common sense, right?
I would say a lot of influencers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They they see other influencers do something and they try to
Hmm.
copy it.
Hmm.
They don't think that should I actually be talking about this topic?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
should I be talking about this or not? So yeah, it needs to be mentioned for a lot of people, especially for the younger side of the audience.
Hmm.
I would not make content about how to make a paratha. I don't know how to make a paratha, but maybe you do, or maybe someone else does. Maybe my brother can do it.
Hmm.
So he could make like a article or a post about how can you make a good paratha. I just suck at it.
Hmm.
I would not eat something that I cook. I can only make Maggie.
Really?
Yeah, fortunately my wife is a good cook, so she can handle this stuff for me.
Hmm. That's nice. So I think this brings us to the end of the podcast. But before we end, I have a couple of rapid fire questions that I call this section as curious candid round. So you just to quickly answer, okay? Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't do that. Right. So one word that defines your Twitter persona.
Harsh.
Harsh. Harsh or harsh?
Yes.
um So, what's your favorite hashtag to use? Or is there
Bitcoin.
any? Bitcoin. Okay. The tweet that you are personally most proud of.
Nothing in particular, but I like the stuff that triggers these woke mobs because that brings me a lot of viewers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over time, I've gotten a lot of those tweets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you tweet it 100,000 times, you're probably gonna trigger some or the other mob. It's just inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of one in particular, but there's quite a few of them that I'm proud of. Quite a few of them that I used to be proud of, but over time I found out that yeah, I mean maybe I was not. When you think you're correct, but then you get more life experience and you learn that you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That type of stuff happens to me all the time because I get more and more life experience. I realize okay, maybe there's more nuance here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I'm right about that. So you change your mind a little bit, and because you have your thoughts going back all the way 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can check and be like, huh, I used to think that way. Interesting. I was so naive.
Mm.
Which is
Right.
personal growth. I mean, I'm happy about it. It means that I'm growing. If I would still be agreeing with every single thing I said 8 years ago, then something has gone wrong in my own journey.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm proud of some things I write, but some things I used to be proud of, I'm no longer proud of.
Mm. Especially on Twitter, like I when I was starting my journey in content creation, people used to tell me you have to be really thick-skinned to grow on Twitter or YouTube. Otherwise, people are gonna bash you, and you'll take it to your heart, which is gonna hurt you and stuff like that. But I think you were the first person who I personally saw who was even trying to capitalize on the negativity that you're getting. You're trying. So that was a very positive thing that I learned, that see, even if you're doing good work, there will be people who will always criticize you. So you just have to be okay with what you're doing. You have to be, in fact, you have to feel proud. So I think I'm gonna, give the credit to you for being okay in your own skin. And yeah, still like keep continuing. But yeah, you are a bit more aggressive when it comes to dealing with these mobs. Still not capable to do that, but yeah, this is something that I learned from you.
Hey, if someone's gonna mob me and blast me with all your negativity, publish news articles about my content, I might as well make some money. I mean, why should you have all the fun and give
Yeah.
me some subscribers and what have you? I've
Hmm.
lately been getting trolling these news outlets,
Mm-hmm.
getting them to change the post they made from saying, calling me a guy. Like they typically say he writes this.
Yeah.
Now I just identify as a woman and I make them change it, make them change it to she. I think it happened to one of your friends too.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
forget her name. What was her name?
Let's not mention.
Yeah, there was this chick who used to work at Scoop Poop, and she published an article saying this guy has been asking people to stop
Mhm.
washing his hands with soap. And now I made her change it to this girl has been
Yeah.
asking people to not wash their hands. So I've been trolling these journalists playing their own game. It's
Mm-hmm.
a fun thing to do. I mean, see, here's the thing, for generations, right? For the last 80 years, these journalists could destroy anybody. Like, you could be a regular guy, and some
Mm-hmm.
journalist would publish some bad article about you, and it could destroy your life. You could lose your
Yeah.
job and everything. And
Yeah.
you had no way of correcting the record. They were
Mm.
literally bullying people because they were the only ones with a large voice.
Yeah.
Now the tables have turned. Now people can fight back. Now people can correct the record and talk back. I mean, you're not the arbiter of truth just because you're a journalist, right?
Mm.
Just because you're a journalist, you cannot just show up and say anything you want and then everybody believes you. Now
Hmm.
you got to be accountable. I mean, I identify as a female, so you got to treat me as a she, madam. I got to treat me with respect.
Right. And people are very sensitive, uh,
Yeah,
particularly to this topic. I get it.
fight back. Fight fire with fire.
Hmm. Right. Next question. What's the best time to tweet, according to you?
Whenever you have it ready, but just don't tweet too many tweets in a short amount of time,
Okay.
because Twitter has something called author diversity. That means that when someone loads their Twitter feed on the For
Mm.
You timeline, Twitter does
Mm.
not want to show this,
All the
multiple tweets by the same author.
yeah.
So if you tweet too many tweets at once, it will penalize your tweets so that only one of them shows up at once. So
Mm.
you want to stagger them in such a way that they are separated by at least an hour or so,
Mm-hmm.
and not you don't want to tweet 6 tweets in 1 hour and then disappear for the rest of the day.
Hmm. Right. That's why I use Twitter scheduling, right? Or
Yeah, Twitter scheduling is very helpful.
hmm. Right.
We will probably add it to repurpose spy in the future. For now,
That'll be
all we do is take your tweets onto videos and then post them everywhere.
hmm. That'll be really helpful, actually. Right.
Yeah, we want to be careful of building too many features and then launching it, in the sense that I'm sure as a businessman, it's better to be niched down and do something
Yeah,
really
yeah.
well than to do
Launch the
like 20
MVP
things.
as soon as possible. That's what we believe in.
Yeah,
So
you want to do something well and do it really, really well than to do like 50 things and be mediocre at
yeah,
all of it.
absolutely.
So right now we're just focused on making sure that if you're a Twitter creator,
Hmm.
it's our responsibility that we turn them into beautiful videos and then put them everywhere, and
Yeah.
you get growth on all platforms. So that's what we're trying to do really, really, really well.
Hmm.
Once
Right.
we figure that out, we'll also build this whole scheduler and what have you.
Hmm. Right. Hmm. Uh, Twitter trends, chase them or create them.
It depends on what your content is about, right? I mean, this isn't like there's a math formula. Like the questions you're
Mhm.
asking is like, should I do this? Should I do that? It depends.
No,
For
no, no.
example,
These
right?
are these are from your perspective. Like, what would you do? Like, would you chase a Twitter trend, or do you usually do that, or you don't, or do you believe in creating your own Twitter trends?
I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
So a recent trend that's been going around is this war between Israel and
Yeah.
Hamas, Gaza, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And since I tweet about everything, I made my own, this is my interpretation of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But you're tweeting about, let's say you're tweeting about education, Edu91, or whatever new thing you're doing, thinkingbridge.in, you probably have no business commenting about Hamas and Israel.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
So it depends on what the trend is. If there was some kind of trend on, say, something related to what you're doing, let's something about interviewing,
Hmm.
this interviewing strategy, probably you should be commenting on it and I shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
get
mean,
it.
I've only interviewed once in my entire life.
Hmm.
I've only given one interview.
Hmm.
So I've taken many interviews. So maybe I can give you advice on how to go about an interview as someone who takes interviews.
Hmm.
I haven't given interviews.
Hmm. Right.
So I would not say you should chase trends, but if some trend shows up, it's in your niche, it's something in your area of competence, expertise, in your table topics, then you should definitely talk about it.
Hmm.
And of course, there are general trends which are interesting to everybody, like COVID. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can talk about
Yeah.
that.
Which are affecting people at large. So,
Yeah.
hmm. Right.
And
Uh,
I'm telling you, COVID pissed off a lot of people when I said survival of the fittest, but I have my own take on it.
you have your style, I would say. Okay. So you have to now describe your Twitter journey in just 3 words.
I cannot.
Oh,
It's too few words.
okay. Maybe try, just try to give it 1 word at least.
That's even fewer words.
Okay, one sentence then in that case.
Mm, it was work, but we did it.
Hmm. That's that looks like a summary of pretty much
Everything, I know.
everything that you achieve in your life, right?
Hey, that's what you get in the one line. Okay.
Fine, okay. I'll work with it. Uh, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee.
I've only had tea 2, 3 times in my life.
Hmm.
So back when
Good.
I was a kid, my mom told me, I think she said that if you start drinking tea, your skin will become dark. And
Yeah,
I'm a very
that's a
fair
very
kid.
Indian thing.
So I just never had tea. I don't know why. I just didn't even have it in my adult life. And
Hmm.
now I just try to avoid tea. I mean, I try to keep this thing going when I don't drink tea.
That's fine. So
But I
that's
have
all.
coffee every day. I
Mhm.
have hazelnut coffee. It's good. But
Hmm.
to be honest, I'll have any coffee as long as it has caffeine. It's good.
But what do you prefer? Black coffee or coffee with milk or
Lately, I've been drinking 1 liter of skim milk in the morning every day with
okay.
coffee. So yeah, it's coffee with milk. Before that, I
Hmm.
used to drink black coffee. I found this thing, it's very helpful for your health. 1 liter of skimmed milk in the morning every single day. Skimmed
Mm-hmm.
milk, not because fat is bad, just skimmed milk because it's very low in calories. It gives you like 35 grams of protein, which is good. And it
Hmm.
has like 50 carbohydrates, which is decent energy for for beginning your day.
Hmm. So that's all you have for your breakfast or
Yeah, earlier I wasn't having anything. Now I just have 1 liter of skim milk. The thing is that I'm starting to get some hair fall, and then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I should be eating a bit more. Maybe I'm
hmm.
cutting too hard.
Hmm.
So I added a liter of skimmed milk.
Hair fall is a real thing, man. I mean, we'll do another podcast covering all the health related issues, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a podcast I would love to watch,
Yeah.
but probably not something I would give any advice on. I haven't figured out how to stop it. It's still falling slowly. I
Hmm.
mean, it stopped now,
Hmm.
but for a month or two, I did get quite a bit of hair fall. I mean, you could not tell like I lost hair. Like it
Hmm.
hasn't gotten to the point where you can tell. But
Hmm.
if I show you, if I pull back my hair and like see I lost hair here, then you can see it. I still look young though. So.
That's fine, I think. Uh,
it's
but
it's
yeah,
a annoying thing to lose hair, but at least
yeah,
it's one of those things where nowadays it's becoming much more common to have lesser hair, so it's
yeah.
not as stigmatizing.
Hmm. There was this dermatologist that was who was mentioning that people get stressed, then they lose hair, and then they get more stressed that they're losing hair. So it's a vicious cycle.
So this is what a friend of mine told me, and I don't know how accurate it is, but it's this friend of mine. This guy did a lot of research, and apparently the reason hair fall is that the follicle or whatever it's called, the thing where
Follicles.
the hair is growing, that becomes inflamed. So the only way of controlling hair fall is to reduce that inflammation somehow. So you
Hmm.
could apply like Rogaine, which is something which reduces the inflammation directly on those follicles, like a cream you apply on your scalp, and
Mm-hmm.
that stops hair fall. But of course, it only stops hair fall as long as you continuously keep applying it every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you stop applying it, the inflammation comes back. Or you could take this pill like finasteride, which
Yeah.
reduces DHT in your system,
Hmm. And then
and
there's
the reduced
minoxidil, which is
DHT.
pretty famous. Minoxidil.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, and it's supposed to reduce DHT, which reduces inflammation in those hair
Yeah.
follicles. So basically the game is to reduce inflammation in your scalp.
Yeah. Right. All
But
right.
then again, I haven't gotten around to using that stuff, so don't know much about it.
Me neither. But I think the underlying reason, I mean, which I studied was it is also connected with the uh, hereditary. If hair fall is in your gene, I mean, if it's, then you're surely gonna get it. So, and surely it comes from mother or father side. So, yeah, we could
Yeah,
talk
that's the annoying
endlessly
part.
now.
No one in my family has hair loss.
Oh, okay.
If you make this podcast, find some expert, make it. I would love to watch it. I would give
Yeah.
you like a shout out, like, hey, watch this podcast if you're losing hair, if it's good
Yeah,
enough.
I've been in talks with a dermatologist. She's busy. She said that she'll take our time, so I'll share it with you when it's live.
Awesome. Sounds good. I think this
Yeah.
is a good idea. Find all these experts in all fields and interview them.
Yeah. So that's what my idea is. I call it the Curious Podcast. The idea is to connect with people from different careers and ask them how did they go about doing really good in their particular career line. So I invited a merchant navy officer. I invited a pilot. I am trying to invite a cartoonist who can tell that there are different career options out there, but we don't know all of them. We are traditional Indian families, they have only fewer options in front of the kids, and then they have to cherry pick from them. Okay, this is something that I like. But I believe there are a lot of options which are still unexplored, even at this age. So my idea is to bring those real people who are working in those career lines and learn from their real life experiences, because they are the ones working on ground and knowing the challenges, the good parts or the bad parts about a particular career. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Makes sense. It's the reason why I read autobiographies, but I like your idea. I think it would do really well. I'm happy you're doing it, and I hope your podcast brings a lot of good knowledge to all the people who listen to it. And I hope that this episode helped you guys out quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So this brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much, Harsh, once again for taking our time and being so raw and honest throughout the podcast and sharing important strategies that can help anyone out there who are trying to make their personal brand or grow or their audience on Twitter or X. जो भी बोलना है. But yeah, thank you so much once again for taking our time. Guys, I'll be putting all the important links on the Twitter guide and Harsh's Twitter channel, although he needs no introduction or no appreciation of any sort from my side. But yeah, I'll definitely put all the important links in the description. Do check them out and follow Harsh for more insightful content. Thank you so much, Harsh.
Likewise, thank you for having me.